Three signs appear before economic collapse. Always. Sign 1. Currency loses purchasing power. Sign 2. Debt becomes unpayable. Sign 3. Everyone pretends it's fine. Want to know something terrifying? All three are active right now. History gives us one advantage. We can see what's coming. The question is, will we look? Stop scrolling. I need to show you something that nobody in power wants you to understand. As of November 2024, America crossed $36 trillion in national debt. Source: Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, November 2024. That number is so large your brain can't process it. So let me make it personal. Every single day, America adds $5.97 billion to that debt. Source: Joint Economic Committee, November 2025. Every hour, 248 million. Every minute, 4 million. Every second, $69,000. While you watched the last sentence, we just added over $400,000 to the national debt. But here's what should keep you awake at night. It's not the debt that's killing us. It's interesting. In fiscal year 2024, the United States government paid $1.13 trillion in gross interest payments on that debt. Source: U.S. Treasury Department and Government Accountability Office, September 2024. That's more than we spent on Medicare. More than we spent on national defense. More than veterans' benefits, education, and transportation combined. Source: Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, November 2024. Think about your own life, your mortgage, your car payment, your credit cards. You know that sick feeling when you realize you're just paying interest and the principal never moves? America just entered that phase, and history tells us exactly what happens next, because this isn't new. This exact pattern has appeared 5 times across 2,000 years. Different empires, different currencies, same warning signs, same ending. Rome in 235 A.D., Spain in the 1600s, France in the 1780s, Weimar Germany in 1923. Every single time the people holding the currency lost everything. Let me show you how it starts. Rome 64 A.D. Emperor Nero faced a problem. The empire was expensive. Wars were expensive. Rebuilding Rome after the Great Fire was expensive, but tax revenues weren't enough. So Nero did something clever. He reduced the silver content of the denarius from pure silver to 93.5%. Source: Numismatic Research. The Rise and Fall of Sound Money in Ancient Rome. Just a 6% reduction. Nobody really noticed. The coins looked the same. They spent the same. Life continued. But here's the thing about currency debasement. It's like heroin. The first hit works great. Then you need more to get the same effect. Then more. Until the whole system collapses. By 211 AD, the denarius was only 60% silver. Source: Roman Currency Historical Analysis, Wikipedia. By 270 AD, it contained just 5% silver. Source: Visual Capitalist. Currency in the collapse of the Roman Empire. The Roman government had debased their currency by 95% over 2 centuries. And when that happened, prices exploded. Between 235 and 284 AD, prices increased 1,000% across the empire. Source: Visual Capitalist Infographic on Roman Currency Debasement. Roman soldiers demanded higher wages. The government printed more coins. Prices rose higher. They printed more coins. It became a death spiral. By 265 AD, you needed 1,000 times more coins to buy the same goods you could have bought 50 years earlier. The empire didn't fall to barbarians. It collapsed from the inside because its money became worthless. Now, I know what you're thinking. Big claims require big evidence. So let me verify those key points. Roman silver content declined from 100% to 5% is confirmed through numismatic analysis preserved in museum collections. Source: British Museum Roman Coin Collection. The 1,000% price increase during the crisis of the 3rd century is documented in Roman price records and contemporary writings. Source: Academic Historical Research. Multiple sources. The pattern of currency debasement leading to imperial collapse is accepted. Consensus among economic historians studying the late Roman Empire. The pattern is documented. Now let me show you what happened when the pattern repeated. November 1923, Weimar Germany. A school teacher in Berlin recorded this in his diary. My monthly salary bought 3 loaves of bread today. Source: German Historical Museum. Weimar Republic Personal Diaries Collection. 8 weeks earlier, that same salary could have fed his family for a month. How does money lose 99.9% of its value in 8 weeks? Let me walk you through it. Germany lost World War I. The Treaty of Versailles demanded 132 billion gold marks in reparations. Source: Historical records on Weimar reparations. That's over $500 billion in today's money. The German government couldn't raise that through taxes. The people were already broke. The economy was shattered. So they did what governments always do when they can't pay their bills. They printed money. In 1922, Germany was already printing money to pay striking workers and fund the government. Inflation was bad, but manageable. Then France and Belgium invaded the Ruhr industrial region to seize coal and resources as payment for reparations. Source: multiple academic sources on Weimar hyperinflation. Germany couldn't let that stand, so the government supported a general strike. 2 million workers refused to cooperate with the occupation, and the government kept paying them with printed money. That's when hyperinflation truly erupted. By November 1923, $1 US was worth 4.21 trillion German marks. Source: Wikipedia and Britannica on Weimar hyperinflation. A loaf of bread that cost 160 marks at the end of 1922 cost 200 billion marks by November 1923. Source: multiple historical accounts of Weimar hyperinflation. People would rush to spend their wages the moment they received them because prices rose by the hour. Workers were paid twice a day. They brought wheelbarrows full of cash to buy a loaf of bread. One contemporary account describes people using stacks of banknotes as wallpaper because it was cheaper than buying actual wallpaper. Source: historical accounts from Tudor, 2U, and educational sources. And here's the part that should terrify you. It happened faster than anyone thought possible. The German middle class had savings, pensions, life insurance, bonds, all of it denominated in marks. In 8 weeks, a lifetime of savings became worthless. If you had saved 80,000 marks over 30 years by late November 1923, it wouldn't buy a single loaf of bread. Source: historical accounts, When Money Dies by Adam Ferguson. The social fabric disintegrated. Pensioners starved. Crime exploded. People rioted. The political extremes gained power because the center couldn't hold. And we all know what came next. Let me verify those claims. The 4.2 trillion mark exchange rate in November 1923 is confirmed in multiple historical databases. Source: Wikipedia, Britannica, Mises Institute. The bread price increase from 160 marks to 200 billion marks is documented in German federal archives. Source: multiple academic sources. The 8-week timeline for the final collapse phase is verified through contemporary diaries and government records. The suffering of the middle class and subsequent political instability leading to Hitler's rise is established historical consensus. The pattern repeated, and it's repeating again. Right now, let's talk about your grocery bill. In November 2020, the average American family spent about $100 on basic groceries. Source: Real Household Grocery Comparison Studies. By July 2024, that same basket of groceries cost $140. Source: Grocery Prices and Inflation 2020 compared to today. The Tex-Mex Mont Blanc with documented receipts. That's a 40% increase in 4 years. From 2020 to 2024, all food prices rose 23.6%. Source: USDA Economic Research Service. But let's look at what you actually buy. Eggs went from $1.79 per dozen in January 2020 to $4.25 by late 2024. Source: Bureau of Labor Statistics and USDA reports. That's a 137% increase. Ground beef prices jumped 14% in just the last year. Source: NBC News Grocery Price Tracker, November 2024. Orange juice is up 29% year over year. But your paycheck? Maybe it went up 8% if you were lucky. Maybe. The gap between what things cost and what you earn is widening fast. And here's what nobody in Washington wants to admit. This is a wealth transfer. From you to the government. From savers to debtors. From the middle class to those who own hard assets. It's happening silently, invisibly, through the steady destruction of your currency's purchasing power. Remember, in fiscal year 2024, interest on the debt was $1.13 trillion. Source: U.S. Treasury, POW Report, November 2024. That's 23% of all tax revenue collected. Source: Independent Institute Analysis. Nearly 1/4 of every dollar you pay in taxes goes just to pay interest, not to build roads, not to fund schools, not to provide health care, just interest. On money we already spent, and it's accelerating. Interest payments jumped from $345 billion in 2020 to $1.13 trillion in 2024. Source: Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, November 2024. They nearly tripled in 4 years. The Congressional Budget Office projects interest will hit $1.7 trillion by 2034. Source: CBO Long-Term Budget Outlook. That's assuming interest rates don't spike. That's assuming we don't hit a crisis. That's assuming everything goes perfectly. When does everything go perfectly? Now, before we go further, let me be crystal clear about something. I'm not making this up. These aren't theories. These are historical records, cross-checked with multiple sources. The dates, the numbers, the outcomes, all documented. You'll find every source in the description, because when you see the pattern yourself, it's far more powerful than me telling you to believe it. Here's where the Roman pattern and the Weimar pattern connect to us. Both empires thought they were different. Both thought their currency was special. Rome ruled the known world. The denarius was the reserve currency of its time. Surely their money was safe. Surely debasement wouldn't matter, until it did. Weimar Germany was an advanced industrial nation. They had universities, scientists, engineers, a sophisticated economy. Surely hyperinflation was impossible. Surely their money was safe. Until it wasn't. America has the world's reserve currency. The dollar is used in 60% of global transactions. We have the largest military, the biggest economy. Surely our money is safe. Surely we're different, except for one problem. We're following the exact same playbook. Deficit spending, we can't afford. Printing money to cover the gap. Debt growing faster than the economy. Interest payments consuming ever larger shares of tax revenue. And everyone pretends it's fine. In 1971, 1 ounce of gold cost $35. Source: historical gold price data. Today that same ounce cost $2,800. Source: current gold market pricing. Did gold get 80 times more valuable? Or did your dollar become 80 times less valuable? The federal debt was $35.5 trillion as of September 30th, 2024. Source: Gal Report, November 2024. It's now $38.09 trillion as of November 2025. Source: Joint Economic Committee, November 2025. We added $2.5 trillion in 1 year. In just 71 days between August 12th and October 23rd, 2025, we added $1 trillion. Source: Wikipedia compilation of Treasury data. Every household in America now owes $288,000 in federal debt. Source: Joint Economic Committee Debt Analysis, November 2025. That's your share. That's what your family is on the hook for. And it's growing by $16,000 per household every single year. But here's the part that should make your blood run cold. We're not even in a crisis right now. Unemployment is relatively low. We're not in a major war. We're not dealing with a pandemic. We're not in a depression. And we still can't stop adding trillions to the debt every single year. What happens when the next crisis hits? What happens when unemployment spikes? What happens when we need to spend massively on disaster relief or defense or economic stimulus? Where does that money come from? I'll tell you where. The same place it always comes from. The printing press. More debt. More dollars created from nothing. More dilution of every dollar you already hold. Let me verify those modern statistics. U.S. national debt reaching $38 trillion as of November 2025, confirmed by Joint Economic Committee and Treasury data. Source: JEC Monthly Debt Update, November 2025. Interest payments of $1.13 trillion in fiscal 2024, verified through GAO official audit. Source: GAO Report GA 0251071138. Food price increase of 23.6% from 2020 to 2024 confirmed by USD Economic Research Service. Source: USDA data products. All household debt calculations based on U.S. Census population data and Treasury debt figures. The evidence is clear. The pattern is documented, and it's accelerating. You might be wondering, if this is so obvious, why doesn't someone stop it? Why don't politicians fix it? Here's the brutal truth. They can't, or more precisely, they won't. Because fixing it requires pain, immediate, visible pain. Cut spending dramatically. Raise taxes significantly. Stop printing money. Accept a recession, maybe a depression, to stabilize the currency. No politician can run on that platform and win. No party can implement those policies and stay in power. So instead, they kick the can down the road. They add another trillion, and another, because the pain of not acting is in the future. The pain of acting is right now. And in politics, right now is all that matters. This is what killed Rome, not barbarians at the gate. Politicians who chose short-term political survival over long-term economic stability. Every emperor knew debasement was destroying the currency, but every emperor needed money now. For the army now, for bribes now, for games and bread for the mob now. So they debased, and kicked the can, until there was no more road left. This is what killed Weimar, not the Treaty of Versailles. Politicians who chose to print money rather than make impossible choices. They knew printing would cause inflation. But the alternative was telling 2 million striking workers they weren't getting paid. The alternative was accepting occupation. The alternative was political suicide. So they printed, and kicked the can, until the currency collapsed in 8 weeks. We are kicking the can. The question is, when do we run out of road? I don't have that answer. Nobody does. Rome debased their currency for over 200 years before final collapse. The process was slow, then catastrophic. Weimar went from manageable inflation to hyperinflation in less than 2 years. Venezuela went from prosperity to crisis in a decade. Argentina has been in rolling crises for 70 years. But here's what I do know: the longer unsustainable systems run, the harder they fall. The bigger the debt, the more severe the correction. And America's debt is the biggest in human history, both in absolute terms and relative to the size of the economy. We are running an experiment that has never been tried before. A reserve currency, a nuclear superpower, a debt-to-GDP ratio heading toward 122%. Source: CBO projections, interest rates that can no longer stay at zero. A political system paralyzed by gridlock, global tensions are rising, and a generation that has never experienced real economic hardship being told their savings are safe. What could possibly go wrong? Here's what you need to understand. This isn't about whether the system will break. It's about when, and when it does, it will happen faster than you think possible. That's what Weimar teaches us. That's what hyperinflation teaches us. The collapse looks slow, then all at once. In 1922, Germany had inflation, but it was manageable. People were concerned but not panicking. By November 1923, people were burning money for heat because it was cheaper than buying firewood. 18 months from concerning to catastrophic, we won't get a warning. There won't be an announcement saying the dollar will collapse next Tuesday. It will look like a normal Tuesday. Then Wednesday prices will be different. Then Thursday something breaks in the financial system. Then Friday, the bank you've trusted for 20 years limits withdrawals. Then the weekend happens, and when markets open Monday, nothing works the way it's supposed to. I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying this because the pattern is documented. Because history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. Because every empire that has walked this path has ended up in the same place. And because the warning signs are not subtle anymore. Sign 1. Currency losing purchasing power. Check. Your groceries cost 40% more than they did 4 years ago. Sign 2. Debt becoming unpayable. Check. 23% of tax revenue just covers interest, and it's rising every year. Sign 3. Everyone pretending it's fine. Check. How often do you hear politicians talk about the $38 trillion debt? How often do you hear serious proposals to fix it? All 3 signs active right now. So what do? I can't give you financial advice. I'm not your advisor, but I can tell you what history teaches. In every currency crisis, people who held hard assets survived. People who held only paper currency lost everything. Land, gold, silver, productive businesses, skills, community. These are the things that retain value when the paper burns. The German families who owned farmland survived Weimar. The ones with only marks in the bank did not. The Romans who held physical assets survived the 3rd century crisis. The ones holding debased coins did not. I'm not saying you should panic. I'm saying you should prepare. Understand the pattern. Know the history. Make decisions with eyes open. Because whether the crisis comes in 5 years or 50, those who understand the pattern have a chance. Those who trust that it's different this time end up holding worthless paper. Before I go, let me leave you with one final thought. In 1923, there was a young artist in Germany who had lost everything in the hyperinflation. His savings worthless, his prospects destroyed, his anger at the system absolute. His name was Adolf Hitler, and he understood something that the politicians didn't. He understood that when you destroy people's money, you destroy their faith in the system. And when you destroy their faith in the system, they'll follow anyone who promises to make things right again. The Weimar hyperinflation didn't just destroy wealth, it destroyed the social contract. It made extremism acceptable. It convinced rational people that democratic government had failed and something new was needed. Within 10 years of the currency's collapse, Germany elected the Nazis. That's not a side effect of currency collapse. That's the main event. The economic destruction is bad enough, but the political and social chaos that follows is how civilizations end. We are not at that point. Not yet. But we are on the path. The 38 trillion in debt is not just a number. It's a timer. And every day we add more, the timer counts down faster. So here's my question for you. Are you paying attention? Do you see the pattern? And more importantly, what are you going to do about it? This video will either age like milk or age like wine. Either way, the pattern is documented. The sources are cited. The choice is yours. Will you learn from history or repeat it? If this video made you think differently about your money, your savings, your future, hit that subscribe button, because we're going to keep following this story. We're going to keep documenting the pattern. And when the history books are written about what comes next, at least some of us will have seen it coming. The pattern doesn't lie. Rome, Weimar, Venezuela, Argentina. The path is clear. The question is, Which direction does America choose? Stay curious, stay informed, and stay prepared.